The news broke just before dawn. Xiao Zhan's birthday banners, bright red, draped across the hotel balcony in Shanghai, fluttered in the sudden wind like paper ghosts. Inside, the candles were still unlit, the cake untouched. His manager's voice trembled as he whispered the words that would fracture the morning. "You Menglong, they've confirmed it." For a long moment, Xiao Zhan didn't move. His reflection in the window looked back at him, hollow-eyed, caught between disbelief and denial. Beyond the glass, fans had already begun gathering for what was meant to be the most beautiful day of the year: his birthday celebration, the live stream, the charity gala. Everything planned down to the second. Everything ready. Until that sentence. He turned away from the window, pressed his palms to his face, and whispered, "No, not him. Not like this." Someone outside called his name. Camera shutters clicked in rapid bursts. He forced himself to straighten, his throat tight, his hands trembling as he typed a message that would send shockwaves through his fandom. Tonight's celebration is cancelled. Some moments deserve silence more than applause. Please understand. He pressed send. Within minutes, hashtags exploded across every platform. Hashtag Xiao Zhan cancels birthday. Hashtag mourning Menglong. Hashtag brothers in silence. Fans began to cry online, posting candle emojis, old clips of the two laughing together behind the scenes, the way Xiao Zhan had once said, "Menglong understands me without words." But inside that hotel room, the silence was far heavier than any headline. He walked to the dresser and pulled out an old photo, one from the early days, before fame, before the chaos. Menglong had his arms slung over his shoulder, both of them smiling at something off-camera. Xiao Zhan ran his thumb over the image, a faint crack running through the glossy paper like a scar. "Why didn't you tell me you were struggling?" he whispered. The phone buzzed. It was his assistant, panicked. "They're outside the venue already. Reporters. Fans. Everyone's asking for a statement." "Should we?" "No press," Xiao Zhan interrupted. "No words tonight. Just candles." He hung up. The rain began to fall. That night, instead of flashing lights and laughter, there was only darkness and the sound of thunder rolling through Shanghai's skyline. Xiao Zhan sat on the balcony, a single candle flickering beside him. The livestream team had begged him to go on camera, even briefly, to thank the fans. But he refused. He wanted to grieve, not perform. Yet as the night deepened, strange messages began surfacing online, claims that Menglong's death wasn't what it seemed. That he'd been seen days earlier, walking near Huangpu River. That the autopsy report had inconsistencies. That a private plane had left Hangzhou the same hour his cardiac arrest was announced. Xiao Zhan saw the rumors, each one slicing through him like a blade. But instead of denying them, he stared into the rain and whispered, "If you're still out there, please tell me." A knock at the door. He froze. It was past midnight. His assistant was asleep in the next room, and security had cleared the floor. Who could? The knock came again, softer this time, 3 precise taps. He approached slowly, every nerve tense. He opened the door. Nothing. Only the hall's cold air and a small black envelope lying on the floor. He picked it up, heart pounding. Inside was a folded photo, grainy, slightly blurred. It showed a silhouette of a man standing at the edge of the riverbank, back turned, umbrella in hand. Scrawled on the bottom in handwriting he'd know anywhere. "Some goodbyes aren't meant to be believed." The candle behind him flickered violently as if reacting to the words. He looked again. It was impossible, but that handwriting. That curve of the S. It was Menglong's. The world outside mourned. Hashtags turned into virtual shrines. But Xiao Zhan sat alone in that room, staring at the photograph until dawn, torn between faith and fear. The next day, paparazzi caught him leaving quietly through a back entrance, disguised in a hoodie and cap. Fans thought he was heading home. But he wasn't. He went to Hangzhou. The driver glanced at him through the mirror. "You sure you want to go there, sir?" they said. "I just need to see it," Xiao Zhan interrupted, voice low. Hours later, he stood by the same river in the photograph. The mist clung to the air, thick and heavy. He looked around, nothing but the rippling water and distant city lights. Then something caught his eye, a single white chrysanthemum floating downstream, petals still fresh. He crouched, reached out, and whispered, "Menglong." Behind him, a camera shutter clicked. He spun around. Nobody there. Only the faint scent of cologne, familiar, fleeting. Back in Shanghai, his management tried to stop the growing storm. Journalists speculated wildly. Some said Xiao Zhan cancelled the birthday because he knew the truth. Others believed he discovered a secret Yu Menglong died protecting. But Xiao Zhan stayed silent. That silence became louder than any words. Days later, fans noticed something odd during a charity video he released, a brief reflection in a glass door behind him. 2 figures instead of 1. The internet exploded again. Was that Yu Menglong's reflection? Is Xiao Zhan hiding him? What if he never died? Each question pushed the mystery deeper, but Xiao Zhan never confirmed, never denied. He simply said during a rare live stream, voice trembling, "Some bonds don't end with goodbye. Sometimes they just change form." Tears streamed down his face, unfiltered and raw. His fans wept with him. But when the camera cut off, Xiao Zhan sat alone again, staring at another message he'd found slipped beneath his door that morning. "Keep them believing. It's the only way to keep them safe." He folded the paper carefully and looked toward the window, where dawn light poured through. For the first time in days, he smiled, not out of peace, but out of quiet understanding. Outside, millions mourned what they thought was lost. But somewhere, in the blurred spaces between truth and illusion, 2 friends kept a promise the world wasn't ready to understand. And maybe, just maybe, that was the real reason the birthday was never meant to happen. Because some celebrations belong to the living, and some to the ones who refuse to stay gone. The camera fades to black. But as you think it's over, the faint sound of footsteps echoes. A door opens. A voice, soft, unmistakably Yu Menglong's, whispers from the dark. "You shouldn't have come looking, Zhan." Cut. The screen holds on Xiao Zhan's frozen expression. Shock, heartbreak, and a terrible knowing all at once, before the final line appears on screen. The truth didn't die. It was buried. And if you think this is the end, it's not. Watch what happens next. The voice faded almost as soon as it appeared. For a moment, Xiao Zhan thought the echo had come from his own mind. But then the air in the room shifted, warm where it should have been cold. He turned slowly toward the balcony door. The candle he'd left there hours ago was still burning, its wax melted into a pool of red light. The curtains stirred though the night was still. "Zhan." This time, the whisper came from somewhere closer. He didn't move. He only closed his eyes, letting the sound fill him. It wasn't fear that spread through him, it was something heavier, hope mixed with disbelief. "You said you wouldn't leave me behind," he murmured. "So why does it feel like you did?" Silence. Then, faintly, a familiar melody hummed through the air, one of their old rehearsal songs, half forgotten. It came from his phone, lying on the table, screen dark, no app open. He walked over, hands trembling. The music grew louder until it filled the room. And then, static. A single phrase cut through, distorted but clear enough to make his heart stop. "Look beneath the light." He lifted his gaze toward the ceiling lamp. It flickered once, then went out completely. The candle flame wavered, throwing strange shapes against the wall, shadows of 2 figures standing side by side. His breath hitched. He whispered, "Menglong, if this is you, give me something real. Something I can touch." The wind answered. A draft swept across the table, scattering papers and photographs. One landed face up at his feet, a picture taken years ago on set, both of them laughing, arms thrown around each other. But someone had drawn a small circle in the corner of the photo, right over a background detail he had never noticed before, an old, carved lantern hanging beside them. "Beneath the light," he repeated. He searched the room until his eyes caught the same kind of lantern, half hidden in the props box from the cancelled event. He lifted it, turned it upside down, and something small dropped onto the floor. A folded note, sealed with wax. He broke it open. Inside were only 6 words. "Not gone. Just where you can't look." He sank to his knees, clutching the paper as tears blurred his vision. Whatever this was, dream, message, or memory, it carried the same weight as truth. Outside, dawn began to break. The first rays of sunlight touched the window, turning the candle's flame to gold. Xiao Zhan watched as the wax hardened, trapping a single petal inside, a white chrysanthemum, the same flower he had seen at the river. He took it as a sign. Maybe Menglong wasn't trying to return. Maybe he was reminding him to keep living, to protect the quiet spaces they once shared. Xiao Zhan rose slowly, wiped his face, and whispered into the light, "Then I'll keep the promise for both of us." He opened the balcony door. The city stretched out before him, alive and restless. Down below, fans still left candles, letters, and paper cranes in his honor. The wind carried their voices upward, a soft chorus of love and grief. He didn't try to stop his tears this time. He let them fall, one by one, until the world blurred again. And then, faintly, just before the scene faded, a reflection appeared in the glass behind him, two figures standing side by side once more. The screen darkened. A single line appeared. "Every silence hides a promise." Then, in a soft voiceover, "If you think you've seen everything, you haven't."